is Lehoyu Yomim Tevim Yisrael, 1983, Chamisha Av, the 15th of Av, which is upcoming Shabbos, this upcoming Shabbos. So this Maimah was on a Monday, 1983, a Hasidic discourse that the Rebbe delivered when he came back Fabreing with Hasidim on that evening. We mentioned till now, the Rebbe discusses that the unique quality of the 15th of Av is that it is a full moon. So the question is, if so, we find that there's also a full moon in other months, every month, namely Nisan and Tishrei, which is Pesach and Sukkot also have a full moon. So the answer is that the full moon of the 15th of Av relates to the elevation that comes after the descent of the earlier days, and since the descent of Tisha B'Av was on a very low level, so therefore the elevation that comes after that is on a higher level, because the greater the descent, the greater the elevation that follows. And then the Rebbe discusses that, explains that this is also what the Mishnah says. The Mishnah says that the girls of Yerushalayim or the girls of Yisrael, the two versions in the Mishnah, would come out and greet Bocharim, boys, and would suggest, Shidduchim would suggest that Bocharim should look at them, and maybe they're interested in meeting them and becoming engaged to them. So, in the same sense that there is in the literal meaning, that it means a Bochar means a boy, a young boy, and a girl means a girl, Bachuras, in the same sense, on a deeper level, it is Yidden, the Jewish nation, and Hashem. Hashem is the Bochar Ba'arozim, and the Yidden are referred to the Kala, Knesset Yisrael is the Kala. And therefore, this is a time, an auspicious time, that Yidden connect to Hashem. Which eventually leads to the marriage, which will be an ultimate and an everlasting connection between Yidden and Hashem, which is the redemption. The redemption is the marriage of Yidden with Hashem. So now we're up to the fourth paragraph, V'hine Yodua. V'hine Yodua, it is known, She'ikar Sibas HaYerida V'Agolas V'Achurban, that the main reason, cause of the descent and the exile and the destruction of the two temples, the Tisha B'Av, Hisinas Chinam, Hei Pachavas Yisrael, is the union of a baseless hate not based on any reason. The opposite of loving a fellow Jew. Uki Yodua, as it is known, Sher Iker Inyan HaChurban Hu Bebayis Sheni, that the Iker destruction of the Churban is the main one is in Bayis Sheni, in the second Beis Hamikdash. We can move on Gamma Mavur Bekisvi Arizal, as it is also understood what it says in the writings of the Arizal. Although the Arizal himself did not write it, it was his Talmud Rab Chaim Vital who wrote it. Still, it is referred to as Kisvi Arizal. Shamayim Edomatzav Desfiras Hamalchus Bizman Golos Bovel Acharei Churban Bayis Rishon. The situation, the state, the position of the attribute of Malchus, which Malchus is the lowest of all the last of all the 10 attributes, Sfiras, is in the time of Golos Bavel was on a higher level yet than its situation in Bayis Sheni. In Bayis Sheni it was a greater descent, because in the first Bayis, the first temple, the destruction affected Sfiras HaBina, the attribute of Bina. In the second destruction, it affected also Malchus. And that's why Chassidus explains that the first Beis Hamikdash, there were 5 things missing. In the second Beis Hamikdash, the 5 things are Keneged Inyan of Hey. The Hey of Bina, the attribute of Bina relates to the letter Hey. In the same sense that a Hey has a length and a width, in the same sense there's an analysis in Bina. Bina is the potential of analyzing something, understanding something, So therefore, Bina is connected to Hey.
You're saying that the state of Malchus and Dolus after the first party is at a higher level than during the second base of Mikdash?
Right, the Churban, because the Churban, the second base HaMikdash was a permanent one, in a sense, and it was also a greater descent. The descent was greater. The first base HaMikdash, after that, there was still a potential for second base HaMikdash. Now we're waiting, 1900, that we're still waiting. I think 1928 or something that we're waiting for the Geula. So see, in other words, the Churban of the second one had a greater effect. As the Rebbe explains it further. 1940 or 1938? I think it's 19... No, so it's how? Okay, so it's 28 years. 1900, 28 years. That's the cheshbon. Okay, v'chein move on. The Rebbe brings it from Chazal. V'chein move on. Is it also understood? Gam Mamar Azal al haposik v'nor yecharav v'yavesh. The pasuk says that a nor, the lake, will be destroyed and dry up. Yecharav, the bayis rishon. The bayis rishon will be destroyed, but there's still water there. The yavesh isn't bayis sheni. The only thing, the difference between the first bayis and second bayis was that after the first bayis HaMikdash, they were missing 5 things: the Oren, the Urim Betumim, the Tzintzenas Hamon, the Makel of Aaron, the Kain of Aaron, and the manna. 5 things. The second bayis HaMikdash, they didn't have it. After the second base HaMikdash, everything is missing. The inyan Yovesh Shulamata Yeser Meyicharif. The word Yovesh, drying up, is lower yet than Yecharif destroyed. Why? What does it mean? It's interesting because this is connected with the Agoda. In the Agoda it says, Ilu Kora Lonos Hayom Ve'Vironu B'Seichei Becharova Lekora Lonos Hayom Nachtzad Oloshen Ve'Vironu B'Seichei Becharova V'Leiha Vironu B'Seichei Becharova. In other words, if he would have split the sea and he would not have taken us through Becharova, would also be good. So the Rebbe explains in a Sikh, I think it's 50 years ago, Tafshin Yudches, 1958, that Charova means that the water is not completely dry. There's still water there. It's also understood bepashtus, as it says in the end of the tractate of Seita, that after the second bayis, it was a greater descent.
After the state of Malchus, in a greater state of Dolus than during the bayis sheni.
Not during bayis sheni. The difference between after the first Churban or after the second Churban.
That's not what it says.
I feel my mother Matzova, Bisman bayis sheni. Because this man bayis sheni was on a... I never saw an explanation for that. See what you mean, that it's more yet than the 70 years.
Going goes,
70 years is more. 70 years is even more yet than that, yeah. Okay. And in regards to the destruction of the second base HaMikdash, it says, why was it destroyed? Baseless hate. As it says in another place, what is the Mokemacha? We don't know. The Rebbe doesn't say what it is. That what? No, we'll mention further. The Rebbe explains the reason from the Gemara. It doesn't say why. Possibly, it's based on what the Rebbe said in Tafshin Yud, 1950. Was asked the question, he says, why does it say b'mokemacha? What's the mentioned already in the past? Why does it say b'mokemacha in another place? If he doesn't mention where, what's the use of saying it's another place? And if he wants to make mention a location, a reference, why does he say in another place? So the Rebbe says, the Rebbe mentions it al derech hatzachos. Of the Pil Mamish, it's a inyan that has a biur. And that is that there are certain inyanim, that how much a person will get references. To look up, he'll always need a mokemacher.